So hey friends, welcome to this week's video. This week we are revisiting the Air 4, but this is the Pro version from Soundpeats, so something that is definitely much more welcome because they put silicone tips on this, so I already like it better than the original Air 4s. However, I do have to go to sort of a mentoring event at a cafe, so we might as well just start this review right away. So here's a sound sample of the microphones from these headphones. You guys can tell me what you feel. I'm gonna go outside, run to this cafe really quick, do some work from the cafe, get some more samples, but we'll talk about how we feel about it after I come back. So this is an outdoor sample of the microphones. Tell me how they sound. It's actually a lot less windy today than I expected. It's super nice in Boston today. I don't know what's up with this, but it's definitely not fall winter season. It's like summer out right now. So let me know how this sounds. There's not a lot of things going on in terms of like traffic noises and things like that, but we'll talk about a little bit later when we go into like ANC and all that sort of stuff. But for now, I got to make this turn, head in this cafe and talk to my mentee. We'll be back.
Pass through. ANC on.
All right, so we're done with the cafe. Hope you guys enjoyed that mic test, or at least the ANC test, and transparency in the cafe. From my experience with that, it was doing pretty well when my music was on. Like my music was jamming, I had ANC on, relatively difficult to hear stuff. However, whenever I went on a pause or anything like that, or if there was, just like, yeah, if there's a pause or I just stop the music, clearly, pretty clearly hear everything around me. So that was a little bit not as powerful as I expected. Transparency was super solid. Things were pretty obvious on what I was listening to on the externals. I could see where or hear where things were coming from. Talking with baristas was relatively natural sounding, nothing too robotic. So transparency is good. But again, I wish I was a little bit more in terms of ANC when music's not playing, but not too terrible. Definitely serviceable, but here, let's listen to how ANC and all that sounds with ambient noise on the outside.
Pass through. ANC on.
All right, back at home. But let's talk a little bit about the ANC and the transparency outdoors because it was I in terms of just things that I could hear. I could pretty easily hear things with the transparency on. Very nice. I was very spatially aware of cars and things like that. Easy to sort of cross streets, hear people coming from behind me. So super good on that front. However, the ANC was not great. So I could easily hear things with ANC on. Like I could hear people's voices. I could hear their conversations when they're walking near me. So it wasn't the best. I've heard it probably does like a reduction of like, I don't know, like maybe 30, 40% reduction. Again, I'm just used to a lot more sapping up that sound out from like Sony's, and even B&O does a pretty good job on that. Just a lot of good headphones out there now that does ANC well. These are just not particularly their strong suit, but yeah. Anyway, let's get set up in a regular setup that you guys are used to me on, and let's talk a little bit more about the form and function and fit of these guys. So back to a more formal setting. We are off the headphone microphones and back onto my normal setup, just so you guys can get the differentiation from what you've been hearing.
The microphones overall, from what I listened back to, were serviceable. They're clear enough where you could use it on a phone call. However, still not the most natural mics that you'd hear. You definitely sound more robotic, a little bit more processed. But I will say that in the recordings that I tested, it does a good job about kind of taking away outdoor noise. So the noise canceling on the microphone was relatively solid. I had people on the other call with me that was able to like not really hear a more muffled like sirens and car noises, even though I was outside. So that is encouraging in terms of using this for work and conferencing. But overall, your voice won't be the clearest thing out there. Another thing about the work setting is that these are easy to multi-connect. I was able to go from phone to laptop to iPad very, very easily, and I didn't really have to worry too much about like re-toggling everything and resetting things up. It was pretty seamless experience that I didn't have to finagle with too much, and I liked that. Through using this with work and doing some work in a cafe, I was able to get about 6 hours, maybe a little bit under that. And that's because I was using ANC. I was also using the mics heavily for calls and things like that. You'll likely get better experience if you're using this mostly just for like ANC, transparency, and music. However, when using it on, phone calls and things, it seems to be suffering a little bit more. But, 6 hours is pretty good in general for earbuds. You will be able to get through an entire day with the case. Will give you a little bit over 26 hours total because it gives you 3 additional charges in the case, so that's always nice. And the charge time on this is not too bad either. I think it's like a couple hours for the entire bits and bobs together to get the full charge, so not terrible. Something that you can plug in overnight or even as you're wrapping up work just to get a charge before your commute. So overall, very, very nice. So now you guys got an understanding of mics. You've also got an understanding of ANC and transparency performance, as well as how I use them at work and how long they can last you. The other thing to keep in mind is fit and form here. These are some of the lightest earbuds that I've tried, and they fit in very nicely because of the stem design. Generally, stem earbuds tend to work out better than most, but these are just super light and they fit very snugly in ear. I actually sometimes forget that they're there, and I have to double check just to make sure that they're solid. But the benefit of the Pros is that these ones actually come with silicone tips, and that's the thing that I hated about the Air4s, and that's the main reason why I could not. There's the main reason why I couldn't recommend them initially. Sorry, I just activated my music and I blasted my ears out. But yes, the added silicone tips and the customization there gives you better seal, better sound, better performance on ANC. So they're not like wash away features. Now they are actually beneficial and useful. So that fit and form and all that sort of stuff is just better on the Pros. In terms of controls, these actually are pretty responsive as long as you tap the right portion. There is a very, very small and slanted area on these headphones where that you can actually activate commands. Sometimes I miss it, not gonna lie. Like sometimes I'll tap and I'm like, crap, I missed the thing completely, or I just got a partial tap. But once you get used to it, it's relatively easy. It's pretty responsive. I do like the fact that they give you playback controls, phone controls, assistance, game mode, exit in and out, sort of sound modes in terms of ANC and transparency and volume. Like a lot of headphones don't do that properly. It is a little bit getting used to the long presses and the double taps and all that sort of stuff, just to make sure that you know what the headphone is expecting from a gesture perspective. But once you get that down, it's actually relatively nice to not have to ever bring up your phone because you can control it all through the headphones. And that's what the ideal scenario is. I wish more companies would do that. Overall, I want to say that these are also very, very comfortable because they are so light. This is something that Soundpeats does really well. They keep it very light on ear, and because it is a stem design, it generally fits a lot better in ear, and it doesn't move around when you try to shake around and be more active with it, which we'll get into later in this review. The thing that I will say is that we did do a review on the Air4s. You can check that above, but I didn't really like them because of the fact that they were missing silicone tips. These ones have said silicone tips, and as a result, just like I said in the other review, the silicone tips help with sound quality, volume, effectiveness of ANC and transparency mode. It just helps a lot of things fit. Like everything was improved by having that in-ear or that silicone tip there for adjustability and fit. It was just super annoying. So annoying having just like the semi-open ear design that didn't have the silicone, because those would fly out of your ears at random times. I would lose them. So like now I don't have that issue. But that is basically everything in terms of like the impressions of how these fit, feel, function. Let's go into the field and see if these actually stay into my ears, and also see what the range and workout applicability is. All right, let's get a little bit more creative because the rugby team is taking up the field right now, and I can't be on there for privacy reasons apparently. Ooh, see the rugby plans. Anyway, I'm just gonna jump off and tell you guys what the performance was like, distance-wise. Probably like 90 to 100 yards. Actually, well beyond 100 yards because if I think about the end zone, it was getting beyond that. So, distance is good. Run around the field without your phone, and you'll be solid. Fit-wise, really, really good. I didn't have any slippage. Ladder drills, running lines, running up bleachers. Nothing really fazed me, and there was not a lot of adjusting needed, so that was great. So, also I'm untied with lace, so it's not great. So, but yeah, in terms of fit, it was super solid, not finicky. ANC did a really good job about blocking out wind when I was running, so it wasn't annoying, but like I mentioned before, you can still hear people talking. So ANC is not the most powerful thing out there. I'll do this one-footed. But the lightweight nature of this is what I think was the big shining point of these. Like, yes, the silicone tips are helpful, but I forgot I had these in, and that was what was awesome about these. Just because they're not super heavy, like not at all. And overall, a really, really good workout experience. Secure fit, lightweight, great distance, and you can throw whatever you want at it. So, let's get back inside and talk about music. The first song that I listened to this on these headphones was 𝐘𝐒 by Sewer Person, and I immediately was turned off by these headphones. This song, just because it's how it's tuned, really made the headphones sound super harsh. The bass was disgusting. Like, it was just overpowering. You really couldn't hear any separation, and there was just peaking all over the place. It was, I did not like it. Again, this is me listening in classic mode, just trying to get a sense of the sort of sound signature. As I moved along more, I started understanding that there's just certain parts of the headphone that they really emphasize. So vocals are super emphasized. There's a lot of staying power on there. You'll see some haunting characteristics, but overall, there are some things missing from it that just overpower and like prevent it from having any sort of good separation. The mids are recessed, so they get lost between the bass and the trebles and things like that. So on takes, Donne-moi, sorry. It was just very apparent. His voice sounds really good, but all the other parts just kind of fell to the wayside. And then we went to an EDM track, Sorry by 𝐄𝐍𝐿. This song was super good in terms of the bass. So like even in classic mode, it was extremely tight bass, very energetic. The voice was very solid in terms of keeping its staying power. It did not overpower the track, but I think it's because the bass and the mids were a little bit tuned up in the song, so it was able to sort of compete with the vocals a little bit more. And then this is where I just started realizing I needed to play with the adaptive EQ and some of the EQ settings, because it was just so harsh on some songs. Like for Reverie by Polyphia, the lead guitar gets harsh in the chorus section. It's just super rough, and like it hurts your ears. However, when I tuned the adaptive EQ, it was super nice. Everything was super well balanced. It does recess the volume somewhat, so you won't get as much power out of the bass, but you unless you're like comparing side by side, you don't miss that power. So once I got like an hour in and got used to the adaptive EQ's lower volume and the settings, I almost didn't realize that there's any difference. Everything just sounded a lot more level, and I could hear the differentiation and separation a lot better between the instruments. And like, this just started becoming a thing, so I kept playing with the adaptive, all that the adaptive EQ against the classic tuning, and things just sounded a lot better on adaptive EQ. The vocals got recessed a bit, allowing some of the other instruments to shine. Super even in comparison to the classic. Again, you might lose some power and some energy from like EDM tracks, but like everything else sounds better on the neutral EQ. So La Bachata was super nice and pleasant once I activated that adaptive EQ. Same thing for Lawrence, Don't Lose Sight. This song has a lot of like swings between low energy and high energy to really emphasize the message of this song. And it's really hard when you get to like the full instrumentation and the chorus. But then if you introduce adaptive EQ, again, those voices get recessed a little bit. It's a little bit more round. Things just have a lot better separation because nothing's getting overpowered. So that's what I will say about this. I'll give you guys a couple sound samples here because my microphone actually works for these headphones, and you guys can tell me what you think in the comments. In terms of the Air 4 Pros, they are a slight recommend from me. These are probably my favorites in terms of true wireless headphones that Soundpeats has. I do love the silicone tips they've added. It just made everything from the Air 4 a lot better. Security, sound, volume, ANC, transparency, everything just worked better because of those silicone tips. And the fit is really, really nice. Sound quality is relatively good as long as you tune it, as we just mentioned. And they're pretty hassle-free. They're pretty responsive in terms of your controls and all of that. Multi-connect's great, so there's not much of a risk here. They retail at 80 bucks. If there's another coupon out there, I will put it here that you guys can access for a discount. I just don't have that from them yet, but I'll try to finagle something for you guys. But for right now, Amazon is actually running a deal with for 30% off, and that will get you to about 60 bucks. So for 60 bucks, these are pretty solid for true wireless. In terms of like overall, these are probably second to the Run Frees. Again, these are a little bit weirder in terms of form factor. If you guys haven't seen this review, check above. But I just like the open ear nature of these and how unique the sound is for this. But overall usability on the daily for work, play, working out, everything, this will do a lot better for you. So definitely check them out. Again, some links in the description for you guys to check out. Anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking around for the whole video. I do appreciate you guys sticking around for that, especially my OGs that check out my reels, they check out my Instagram stuff, check out like anytime I do a live. It's been rare, but I'm gonna try to get one done before the end of the month. But it helps me grow this channel, and it's letting these companies see me so that I can find these awesome products and give you reviews to you guys. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, if you could, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that you normally do on a video that you like and love, and I'll see you very shortly. As always, appreciate ya. Peace.